Hello, everyone. This is the Hearth, and tonight we're going to have a conversation called The Power of Presence When Early Traumatic Memories Arise. Tonight I'm here, Alison Greene-Barton, and there's Kate White and Kristin Sipley and Eileen Sendrey. And we've been sitting here talking before we pressed record about the effect of the power of presence, and I'm looking forward to how this conversation unfolds. Would anyone like to start it?
Yeah, I have something I'd like to say. Thanks, Allison. Um, well, the first thing that comes up for me is that I'm going to speak about working with clients right now, but it could also just be being present with a friend. But when I sit down with a client, what I know is that as become more present, and for me, uh, coming to the body is one of the things that really supports me to come to the present. And as we slow down, I don't actually know what's going to come up in the session, even if there's some general idea I have about what the person's working with. And so the way that I relate to the word present is that when I come in and sit down with somebody, I want to do all the things I know how to do to be present and to slow things down and then see what arises. And I don't actually ever I always say my work is it's like a holiday where you get gifts. It's a surprise. I don't know what's going to arise, and I know that people's challenges come up, and I know that people's health shows up. And my job is just to be present and to support intentions and support them in their challenges. And so for me, presence is it's like the ground that helps create the space for that connection and for being with whatever is arising for that person.
Thanks, Eileen. Yeah, I would say that when clients and students they sit with me, there's a way that they feel my knowing, and I think that just comes from presence, from sitting over and over again, and what you said earlier, Kristin, discomfort. Learning how to sit with discomfort with ease and wait. Which is what I think I'm hearing you say, Eileen, that um, there's a way that the scary places are don't scare me, or don't maybe they don't scare us those trained to work with these early layers from pre and perinatal somatics. But we know this territory. It's unique for each person, so we don't know exactly, but we're aware of the patterns and what to do. And I also feel like another thing that I've learned from you, Eileen, when we teach together, you've talked about look for health emerging, which is another sitting with presence. You wait and um, and you're able to facilitate with the skills that we learn, but it's really about presence and sitting in that first practitioner skill of ground and center, neutral.
Thanks, Kate. I think you're so right. I think both of you are so right. You know, as I'm sitting with this topic and as I'm listening to both of you, I think of it's very natural for things to arise. And whether we know the territory or not, I think one of the things we learn is that so much of what does come up is natural, healthy. It's probably there for a reason. And that's a very different perspective than needing things to be different or fixed or changed. And my experience with whether it's from clients, family members, or friends, that a lot of times we just sort of need permission for what is arising, for maybe the mess that we're feeling, the anger that we're feeling, or the depression, the anxiety, whatever it is, that's if we can allow it to be there and really be present and give space. And I think this is what you mentioned, Eileen, of giving space and a foundation for what does arise to be there and held and discover what is needed. To me, that feels what presence is. It's being willing to be there, be with what's arising, be with myself, be with another, as things maybe, as you said, Kate, are uncomfortable, or when we don't know something. And I know for myself where I can really trust something, whether it's something bigger or something healthy is here, or that, in a lot of ways we talk about that movement, that energy will move if we give it enough time or space or support. And I see the cat walking across Allison's screen. Perfect timing. And yeah, it's just being present with what's here, and what moves us physically, emotionally, energetically. I think I'll stop there for now.
It feels really good to hear each of you talk about presence, and I'm feeling how powerful presence is right now with babies that are distressed. When we can sit in that quality of being with whatever is, and just feeling settled and grounded and calm inside, even though there's a very distressed baby in front of us crying and screaming, and but that the word that kept coming up for me as each of you were speaking is that when someone's in presence, there's a sense of confidence, and it exudes everything's okay. It emanates, we're all good. You can do this. And that quality of presence is so important with crying babies, that are traumatized and don't feel comfortable here and don't trust because of whatever they went through. And when they can be with a parent or a practitioner helping them that is able to be in this settled, expanded, loving presence, I feel the baby then starts to trust it, starts to unwind, starts to feel safe enough to tell their story. And it's so beautiful to watch. And then it's true for each of us, that when someone holds that space, and I was sharing earlier before we started recording about the powerful effect Ray Castellino used to have on me. I'd never been with someone who could simply be there in that way and be with whatever is. And I saw the effect that it had on the babies that came to the clinic. And I've mentioned this before in other podcasts, but parents would bring the very distressed baby, put it in his arms, and within seconds, the baby would stop crying, would just start to unwind. And then I used to also feel that in his presence, that it's okay. Things are going to be all right. The talk we did on being human, it's like, it's okay to be human. You're here. Like, this is what it's like. This is what happens. You can move through this. So that really sits with me and stays with me. And when you can be that way with a baby, that leaves that positive imprint. It's something internally they can start organizing around and unwinding with. And when we hold space for anyone of any age, that's true. It's such a beautiful gift to hold a safe harbor for someone, a safe sense of presence. And then the health inside of that presence is so powerful. It has an effect on someone else, no matter what, in my experience.
Yeah, it's settling to be with someone who's present and listening and following, but also knows. It's feels good.
Yeah, so beautifully said. I think I like the word you use, confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another word would be trust. You know, when I'm with someone who really trusts what is, it gives me confidence and trust in it. And I will watch it in clients and friends when I can be with them in just presence and trust of what's happening. It almost invites them to feel their own knowing or connect to their own knowing or trust in themselves, opening the door for something else to arise. Confidence is catching.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's catchy. Confidence is catching.
For parents to also get an experience of this, because I mean, sometimes so I feel what I'm teaching parents is how to ride the wave of a baby's emotional outburst or crying. How can you, instead of trying to stop it or interrupt it, how can you be with the baby in a way that allows them to move through that cycle and feel safe, that they're actually going to make it through and that you're there. And Ray used to have us track when it would go over the edge, like right before then. And you can feel that in the baby, that they're starting to lose their capacity to be here. And then you get up and you distract them and you do things. But after a while, they learn to move through those places with confidence because someone is holding that space in confidence. And when parents can learn to not interrupt the crying cycles, but to be with them and see them as an important release for the baby and experience for the baby. They tend to move through those places. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel loved, not interrupted or stopped.
Part of as I'm listening to what all of you are saying, part of sitting with somebody with presence is there's a lack of judgment there. Even
Mm-hmm.
as I'm sitting right now in presence with the three of you, my mind feels quiet. I don't feel like I'm categorizing or judging. And I just feel an openness to what's being said and what arises in me as I'm taking in is of what is being said. And a really important part of our work is developing that that neutral or the non-judgmental witness. And earlier we were speaking about, when I first came to this work, when people come to this work and they are faced with their imprint, or in some work, it's called your shadow material, and you can't see it and you don't feel like you have control over it. And, the work is to create in a field of non-judgmental presence, to create that witness, which can, especially when we feel our imprint coming up, when we feel activation, we have to learn presence first in a quiet, safe space. And then eventually, I think you were saying, Kristin, of like having the resilience to feel something hard. I can't remember which of you said that, but so eventually, after we've learned presence in like an easier, quieter space, then we can start to witness ourselves even as we start to feel activated or a challenging imprint comes up. And it's that place where then we can make the choice to behave in a more intentional way, or use the tools that we've learned instead of some kind of reactive, historical way, habitual way of behaving. So we have a choice. We are able to choose a response rather than a reaction in the presence. And that goes for parenting too. You were talking about working with parents, is that when parents can be more intentional and can respond rather than react, then there's that mutual support and cooperation, and teaching rather than punishing.
Yeah, thanks, Eileen. That's just a good narration. You could put a period after that, But I also work with adults. I do a lot of work with babies, but working with adults and also just being with people and have them feel seen and heard and understood and welcome. I often miss that when I go out trying to find, practitioners to help me with a variety of things. There's just not a quality of presence that I find in the world in general, except for in spaces like this, or where people really work with listening, from that special sort of presence place. And yeah, it creates this space between us that is so alive and also feels good. So other things can unfold that if that wasn't there, they wouldn't. Yeah.
Interesting as I'm listening to you, Kate, it dawns on me, like, when I work with families, there's something about really supporting the parents to, in some ways, like listen more. I don't know if I would say listen more deeply, but there's something about just holding presence, having presence, that we can hear more of what is being expressed or shared than the words that people are saying or the actions that they're doing. And I think it combined with what you're saying, Eileen, about without judgment and the confidence that they have the health, that there is that, and that we're just inviting them to connect to the health in themselves, the health in the field, the support that something will move if we can be with it.
So in the pre-perinatal space, in the early, working with when early trauma memories arise, this is the place where you learn that as practitioner, but they have qualities, and some of them are really challenging, like terror or fear, rage, anger, dissociation, just near-death aspects, and so when you can sit in presence with those things, the person who's with you is not so afraid and can be with this challenging state, and there's something about that helps it integrate. And so I've learned I can do that. And the way I learned was because somebody sat with me with presence. Mm-hmm. Like Alison, you said, Ray, for me, Anna Chitty, John Chitty, people who understood and could lead me and with confidence. And if they're not, their confidence and their presence just really allowed me to do the depth of that work that needed to integrate. And so it is with the wombs around the small groups that we are trained to learn to bring, everyone into a level of presence with what's happening, and then even more can integrate.
Yeah, one of the key things that I think you just said, Kate, is, gosh, I just lost it, but there's something about the confidence or trust or the knowing that whatever the early imprint is, the early memory is, that we've made it through that. And for us as practitioners, we know that. And we're in holding that presence and the support of others, that they can start to feel that themselves. I don't know, there was something that you said that just brought that up for me. It looks like you want to say something else.
I'm just really enjoying the conversation, and then also enjoying, it feels like each of us are feeling into that state of presence and the quality of it. And I'm enjoying the feeling of being with each of you as we explore the power of presence. I know what it's been like in my life to have that experience, and I know each of us have been touched by that, or we wouldn't be doing this work in the way that we do. So I was feeling gratitude for it. I didn't quite know how to put it into words, but I guess I am putting it into words. The power of presence is really such an important and essential quality of healing. To receive that from someone else, but then also to be present with yourself. And we need that. It feels like a real need to have that experience of presence in our life.
I really like what you're saying about direct experience, Alison, because I can really feel that too. I'm really enjoying just the felt sense of us sitting together in that. And I remember once I was in a bodywork class and I asked the teacher like what this sequence was good for. And he looked at me and said, "Well, what was your experience?" And I really appreciated in that field of presence being brought to what is my experience. And again, it comes back to what I was saying earlier in how when you sit with somebody, you know that health is going to arise, you know that some kind of challenges will arise. And then part of that is sitting in presence and sitting with what is my experience and supporting the person that I'm sitting with to connect with their experience. And so there's something very organic and like something that arises from within in the moment.
What a rich conversation. Yeah, I love where we're going with this because yeah, it is a need, Alison. I think presence supports us to be able to integrate what we're experiencing. And it also allows us, I mean, as what I'm experiencing right now with us is that it also allows something to unfold. It like gives way for what's comes next or what wants to be spoken or expressed
Or felt.
or felt, experienced.
There's something else that I'm thinking about as we talk about this, that when we're in that place of presence, there's just a bigger, wider opportunity, a larger perspective. And when we're, trying to survive an imprint, find our way through trauma, it's more reactive and it's responding to something that's more limited in our consciousness. Whereas when we're in presence, there's so many other ways to be with that, feel it, experience it, know about it. So just with someone in presence and then the other person in that tunnel vision of reacting, it starts to open their vision to come out of that reactiveness to a state of being, like touching into a deeper place of knowing. I was appreciating that. Like when you feel you have no choice. We were talking about this earlier before we started, that sense of reactivity where you're just trying to survive it and you feel like you have no choice. And then when you sit with someone has that quality of presence, it starts to open up the choices so that you can make a different choice than just reacting to that experience and trying to survive it.
Yeah, it's life-changing. And especially if you can catch the curiosity of the person who's asking you questions. Their presence plus curiosity plus confidence. I mean, this is, yeah, there's an allowing that you get permission in a way the other person feels like they can move through this and then harvest the fruits of that labor. It's with the quality of presence.
It's been a rich conversation.
Yeah, that feels good.
Feels like we've come to completion.
Well, we hope you'll join us at the next conversation on, let's see, the power of presence when early traumatic memories arrive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.